Todd Chrisley reveals his sole intent in prison was to make employees miserable. Hello everyone. Welcome back for another video. I hope everyone's having a great day. Before watching the video, please subscribe and like it. Todd Chrisley knows best when it comes to the prison system. In May, the reality star, 56, and his wife, Julie Chrisley, 52, were pardoned by President Donald Trump after being convicted of fraud and tax evasion in 2022. Todd and Julie began their prison sentences in 2023 and served a little over 2 years before gaining their freedom. Since their release, the couple has been vocal about their time behind bars, even sitting down with their daughter Savannah Chrisley on her Unlocked podcast on Tuesday. "I was surrounded by miserable human beings." Todd reflected about his time at the federal prison camp in Pensacola, Florida. "Every day, I got up, and it was my sole intent to make their life even more miserable because they were there to make our lives miserable." Julie agreed with her husband of 29 years, stating that the correctional officers are miserable human beings. As Todd put it, "They are not your friends. It's us against them." The Chrisley Knows best alum went on to describe his mindset behind bars. "I think for me, I was always free. In my head, I was still free," he explained. "I did not take up residence there. I was in prison. Prison was not in me." Todd made the most out of his time in the facility, sharing with listeners that he made great friends. "I stayed in faith. I prayed. I read my Bible. I worked out." The patriarch continued. "I walked. And I wreaked havoc on anyone who was mistreating somebody else." One person in particular was Rick Singer, the mastermind behind the 2019 Varsity Blues college admissions scandal that left more than 50 coaches, parents and associates of singers behind bars. The disgraced college admissions coach pleaded guilty in 2019 to racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to defraud the federal government and obstruction of justice, and is serving out the rest of his 42-month sentence in Pensacola. He was talking smack, saying that he didn't wear a wire. He never told anyone. The feds set him up and this, that and the other. Todd detailed. With his remarks, already rubbing the former USA Network star the wrong way. Months later, Singer came back and made a comment about Savannah. "So, I walked up to him and I said, 'I'm going to say this one more time,'" Todd noted. "I'm already in prison. I will rip your head off and seat your neck if you talk about my child again. And I meant what I said." Singer said he wasn't scared of Todd, to which the entrepreneur replied, "I don't need you to be afraid of me. Just be aware that, if my daughter's name comes out of your mouth again, I will rip your head off and sink down your neck." Although Todd made the most of his days, his reality still hit him hard at times. "I was angry at God," he admitted during the ABC News special The Chrisleys' Life After Lockup last week. "And when I went to bed that night and the lights went out, I cried myself to sleep and I said, 'God, why are you allowing this?' You don't realize the things that you took for granted until you don't have it," he shared. "So your freedom, your ability to go to church, your ability to go out to eat, to stay in your bed all day. Those things are taken from you, so when you have them back, it's a blessing." Julie, meanwhile, spoke out about what she missed the most while serving her sentence. "My children and my husband. I missed birthdays and holidays and graduations and things that I can never get back." The duo also reflected on coming home. When it came to Todd's first shower back in Nashville, the media personality joked to host Juju Chang that it was almost like your first sexual encounter. As for his first meal, Todd opted for Pizza Hut, while Julie chose the fast food chain Zaxby's in 2019. The two were indicted, with federal prosecutors accusing them of submitting fake documents to banks in order to garner more than $30 million in loans. They denied the allegations. Todd was sentenced to 12 years, while Julie received a 7-year sentence. They had not been allowed to see or talk to one another since reporting for prison in January 2023 until their release in May. Now, Todd and Julie are set to make their reality television comeback, with Savannah, 27, telling reporters outside her father's prison. "We have a new show coming out on Lifetime, and it will document all of these things." In a revelation as shocking as it is unapologetically bold, Todd Chrisley has declared that his sole intent during his time behind bars was to make prison employees absolutely miserable, and if that statement sounds outrageous, it's because it is. But in true Todd fashion, the former reality TV patriarch isn't backing down from his words. Instead, he's doubling down and framing his rebellious behavior as a stand against corruption, injustice, and mistreatment within the prison system. During a recent conversation on daughter Savannah Chrisley's widely followed podcast, Unlocked, Todd didn't mince words. Speaking from his facility in Pensacola, Florida, the disgraced Chrisley Knows best star made it crystal clear that his time in federal prison has not softened his spirit or dulled his tongue. In fact, he's become more defiant than ever, and, in his words, more intentional about disrupting the very system he believes is built to dehumanize. My sole intent, every single day since I stepped foot in here, has been to make these people uncomfortable, Todd said with a mix of conviction and fire. Not because I hate them personally, but because I refuse to be silent when I see abuse. I refuse to bow my head when I see someone in power using it the wrong way. If that makes me difficult, so be it. The statement sent shockwaves through both his supporters and critics. Some hailed him as a whistleblower refusing to be broken by the institution, while others accused him of arrogance and manipulation. But Todd, never one to shy away from controversy, insisted that his mission is about more than personal revenge. It's about accountability. These people thought they could put me in a cell and that I'd be quiet, that I'd just do my time and keep my head down, he continued. But that's not who I am. I see things every day: mistreatment, lack of medical care, inmates being treated like less than animals, and I speak up. That bothers them. They don't want anyone in here with a voice, and I've got one. Todd's candid remarks after months of speculation about how he's coping with incarceration, though he and wife Julie Chrisley have remained largely behind the scenes. Since beginning their sentences in 2023 for bank fraud and tax evasion, occasional updates through Savannah's podcast have offered glimpses into their reality. But this is the first time Todd has openly admitted to actively trying to provoke the system, and he says he's just getting started. You don't make change by being comfortable, Todd added. You make change by calling people out. I don't care if they're a guard, a warden, or some administrator with a clipboard. If they're part of the problem, I'm going to be part of their discomfort. And he claims the results have been noticeable. According to Todd, he's already faced multiple warnings, threats of isolation, and subtle forms of retaliation for his outspokenness. They move you around. They try to intimidate. They watch you a little closer. But they don't scare me, he said. I've been through worse, and I'm still standing. What's perhaps most startling is the confidence with which Todd speaks about his mission. This isn't a man who seems defeated or weary. This is a man who sounds like he's taken on a new identity as a prison reform activist, albeit one with a sharp tongue and very personal motivations. Whether the public sees him as a crusader or a manipulator may depend entirely on how they viewed the Chrisleys from the beginning. Todd's confession also raises larger questions about the prison system, particularly in light of recent reports of inadequate conditions, poor treatment of inmates, and lack of oversight in federal facilities. While some may see Todd's words as dramatic or self-serving, others argue that his platform could shed light on issues often ignored by the public. Meanwhile, Savannah has continued to stand by her father, often using her platform to echo his complaints about the prison's living conditions and advocate for reform. Dad's not just saying these things to be provocative, she said in a recent episode. He's saying them because they're true. And if people don't believe it, that's on them. But he's not lying. Julie Chrisley, serving her sentence in Kentucky, has taken a more subdued approach, rarely speaking publicly about her experience. However, sources close to the family say that while her journey has been different, she too has faced many of the same issues and remains supportive of Todd's outspokenness. Critics, however, argue that Todd's comments show a lack of humility and that he's continuing a pattern of deflection and blame. Instead of accepting responsibility and serving his time quietly, he's making a spectacle, one anonymous former fan wrote on social media. It's classic Todd, always the victim, always the hero of his own story. But even those who disagree with him admit one thing: Todd Chrisley knows how to make headlines. From reality TV star to convicted felon to self-proclaimed prison rebel, his evolution has been anything but quiet. Whether his claims will inspire reform or simply stir controversy remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure: Todd Chrisley isn't fading into the background anytime soon. In his own unapologetic words, "If making noise gets their attention, then I'll shout louder. If being a thorn in their side brings a little justice to people who don't,